Start off by stating my position, my world view on all issues that affect humanity. This obviously also includes the issue of independence for Scotland. I am a one-worlder. This means that I respect all human beings, no matter where they are from, regardless of race, gender, or sexual orientation. Everyone throughout the world is my brother or sister, and each and every one of you deserves the same level of courtesy and respect. If a Chinese worker in Hunan province is maltreated, this weighs the same for me as the mistreatment of a worker in the local bus depot. It is not true that I have adopted one-worldism as a humanitarian principle, although I have. It is also that I have an international approach, as this is the only way to beat the ravages of capitalism. There can be no socialism in one country. Indeed, if we are lucky enough to establish a socialist government in a country, a single state, then its very survival depends on exporting socialism to ever more countries. We need to set up a confederation of socialist states to work together. There really is no alternative to the future of humanity. Over 100 years ago, Rosa Luxemburg stated that the future was either international socialism or barbarism. She was right, for this is the choice that has come back even more starkly and faces us today. It is normal for politicians to describe the issues we face so that they can then show that their proposal addresses those issues. Well, here are the issues that we are facing. Climate crisis. The world has 8 billion people, and it is expected that this might grow to 10 billion by 2100. In the next 40 years, 2 billion of the world's population on current trends will have to move, as their countries will no longer sustain life and will become deserts. Between 1/4 and 1/5 of the population of the world will become refugees. Independence for Scotland doesn't answer that. Artificial intelligence displacement. In the United States, there are 10 million cab drivers in the population. In the next 10 years, artificial intelligence will mean that they are redundant because they have cars that will be programmed to take you where you want on a driverless basis. There are 10 million truck drivers in the USA. Similarly, they will no longer be required. That's on driving. Artificial intelligence will be used for a whole series of other jobs. And you may recall that way back when, in Star Trek, you could press the buttons and you could get a fish and chip supper or a steak dinner coming out of the microwave, just like that. Well, do you think these new advances in technology are going to liberate humankind? Or are they going to subject us and throw most working people onto the scrap heap? I think at the moment it's going to be the latter. I don't think Scottish independence addresses that as an issue. The financialisation of the world's economic system has also meant, through neoliberalism, that we are getting the increasing immiseration of ordinary people, with the super rich getting ever richer. So unless something is done to address that, we are going to all face a more serious problem in the future. And again, I don't think Independence for Scotland addresses that. There is, as you can see at the moment, the beginnings of a huge global schism where the tectonic plates of the economic system are beginning to change. And you have a situation where the US is exerting increasing hegemony over the international economic system. To give you an example, with the blowing up of the Nord Stream gas pipeline from Russia, Germany is having to spend $2 billion on new ports to import gas from the USA for its industry. The gas is going to cost twice as much as what it previously paid. What do you think that is going to do to European manufacturing competitiveness? It's going to stop it completely. And when you ask the question, who does anti-Russian sanctions hurt most? The answer, as far as I am concerned, it hurts most those people, those citizens of European countries. Now, other issues that we can expect because of the climate crisis is that it's being posited that we are going to be subjected to ever more health pandemics. Because what they are saying is that with the unfreezing of the tundra, it will release into the atmosphere more viruses that have been hidden for generations. They are likely to mutate and can obviously impact us. Nicola Sturgeon had the good grace during the COVID pandemic to put the independence campaign on the back burner. She realised that the answer to that wasn't independence for Scotland. I also believe that the campaign of independence for Scotland is a diversion because there cannot be a nationalist solution to our problems. And I know that the SNP talk of civic nationalism as if civic makes it okay. The slogan of the SNP is stronger for Scotland. This has the implicit message, weaker for the rest of the UK. I cannot understand how socialists, whose core belief must be stronger for the workers, can be sidelined into a national cul-de-sac. Freedom! The battle cry of Mel Gibson in Braveheart has a lot to answer for. Because I have met people, I kid you not, who come and stayed with me at my B&B when we ran the B&B. And they were saying to me, Mick, we've got to come to Scotland because Scotland was the first country to take up the cudgels and fight against British imperialism. They even conflated English imperialism with British imperialism. The fact of the matter is, of course, as David has accepted, the development of capitalism was a joint enterprise. And Scotland was not actually playing a junior role, far from it. The fact of the matter is that in Scotland, they introduced a form of universal education from 1496 through the Presbyterian Church, where every parish had to have a school. And as a consequence, it was quite normal in Scotland for there to be people that spoke French and Latin. And in fact, because the population was literate, Edinburgh became a centre for the production of books. People were reading. And this meant that Scotland was the intellectual powerhouse of the empire. It was, no question about it. It's not by accident that Adam Smith the theorist of early capitalist development, was a professor in Glasgow. And indeed, at that time, there were twice as many universities in Scotland as there were in England. So the notion that it's jackboot English imperialism, and we've got to fight against that, is completely wrong. In my view, nationalism was last progressive in Western Europe around the 1870s, with the creation of a unified German state, but also with the creation of a unified Italy through Garibaldi. Some would perhaps argue that the Republic of Ireland, created in 1922 or thereabouts, was progressive. But then again, I'm not too sure that James Connolly would agree with that, but there we are. And certainly in the wider world, nationalism, I think, reached its apex in the 1970s when Vietnam won its war for independence and unification. We need to understand also that states were created to give the semblance of inclusivity. But the real purpose was and is to regulate the relations between bosses. On occasions, for the better maintenance of the system, a few benefits will be provided to a combative working class, all with the intention of disarming them. In fact, this was literally the case after the Second World War, where de Gaulle put in a Communist Party member, the cabinet minister for Labour, and the foreign minister, and got the Maquis to disarm, literally, for a number of changes in the French government proposals for working people. My view is that we should have no track with nationalism of any kind. Now, supporters of Scottish independence use the apparent democratic argument of self-determination, and they assert that the peoples of Scotland have the right to choose their own destiny. On the face of it, anyone who opposes a referendum is anti-democratic, as they are denying the right of the people to choose. The truth is that those who promote self-determination are conning us, in my view, with the political equivalent of the three-card trick. First, the day of the referendum is not going to be chosen by some random lot. Oh no. The day will be chosen by the supporters of Scottish independence, and it will only ever occur if they think there is a better than 50% chance of winning. Second, even if they lose, this will not represent the settled will of the people of Scotland. No, the people will have made the wrong choice, and the supporters of independence will regroup to demand another referendum, ASAP. It is, as some wag suggested, the never-ender. Third, a decision of the peoples of Scotland in favour of independence, even if it be 50% plus one, represents the settled will of its citizens. There is no return ticket. People cannot try independence, and then if they do not like it, revert back to previous arrangements. There are those who support Scottish independence because the Tories will always have a majority in England, and then use this to rule over Scotland. This, of course, ignores the 14 Scottish Tories elected in 2017, who gave succour to Theresa May's government. They did so for a lot less than the $4 billion the DUP extracted from her for confidence and supply. I do not forget that it was these Scottish Tory MPs who denied Jeremy Corbyn the chance to form a government. I'm going to finish very shortly because the chairman's looking at me. Now, I'm not in favour of the status quo. I know that the British state is rotten to its core, but I will not turn my back on the working class in England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Much as I want a world federation of socialist states, I have to do my best to reform what is in reach. Accordingly, let us demand the abolition of the monarchy, the abolition of the House of Lords and its replacement by a second chamber elected by proportional representation, a federal Britain with maximum devolution to nations, states and regions, election of a federal British government to deal only with matters of joint interest as agreed by national and regional assemblies, the reunification of Ireland, and if it wants, its inclusion in a British state. Independence for Scotland is not only wrong and nationalistic, it is also too timid. I will conclude with a rendition of my 2014 campaign poem. Beware of the fate of any new state that is small and tiny and weak. For with globalization, can any new nation really expect to be free? Comrades, down with nationalism, up with socialism!